About a Christmas tree. I mean, what do you like?
I'm keeping the deckies, but I'm getting rid of the tree.
Oh, God. You're a nutter. That's what you are.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Brand new day, gotta take it on my way, gotta take it on my way.
Madam Morgan.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm just turning you up, dear. I'm very well, thank you. It's sunny down here. How's it in South London?
It's beautiful here, cloudless sky, but I have to say, I have had the most stressful couple of hours before speaking to you
really?
this morning. My notes here say, tell Nicola I'm excited, upbeat and positive, which I will explain later in the call. But this morning, at 8 o'clock, I did one of my small business big magic calls. And in September, after running the group for 2.5 years, during September, there have been a couple of calls, 2 calls, when nobody showed up and I was by myself. And another time it was very quiet, just 2 callers. Today, 8. I was absolutely mobbed. And worse than that, 2 of them were calling in for the first time ever on WebEx, which, as you know, you completely failed yourself to work out how to use the other day.
Yeah.
And one woman who we couldn't work out who it was endlessly pressing something, either by accident or on purpose, which meant that one of my callers had endless beeps and there were delays. I mean, tech and high level of excitement, newbies, just not enough time. In fact, I had to say to caller number 8, I'm sorry, I've got to go, it's the podcast today. So, and that was somebody I hadn't spoken to for a very long time. So it was marvellous, but I haven't dealt with that amount of stress in a short window for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and it's difficult when you've got new people on the line because you want to give them, a good
Absolutely,
go.
yes. And fortunately, all new people I give an hour to one-to-one before we start.
Yeah,
so I know them. But I don't want them to think that. After the calls, I go into our Facebook group and I put a digest of what was discussed, so people can work out whether they need to listen to the recording. Well, it was the longest digest I've ever written. It just went on and on and on. And on and on and on, frankly. But anyway, there we go.
Good job. You're such a diligent note taker, aren't you? I
am a diligent note taker, but I promise to do that because it's useful for them. You don't want to have to turn up and listen to an hour and a half if there's nothing interesting on it, do you? And you don't know unless I tell you. It's a bit like a menu. Yeah,
well, a lot of people I know do show notes for their podcasts, and a lot of people, James and Dan Norris and people, when they do calls like that, Q&A calls, they get someone in the Philippines to listen to it and make the notes about what was discussed.
Well, it only takes me about 5 minutes, but what I would say is, and dear listener, it would be great if you could come into our podcast group and page and answer this, but I think almost nobody looks at the show notes that I take the best part of an hour every week to write up, Nicola.
Well,
because lots of people ask questions in our group that's already linked to from the show notes. So either they don't know how to do that because they're listening on iTunes and it comes into their app or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the main there is a huge benefit of you doing that, which is, of course, search engine optimization.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we do get traffic at the podcast, and I'm going to tell you why it's really important to continue with this in a minute.
Oh, marvellous! Now, but tell me first about your.
Well, I bought some sneakers. It took 3 attempts. I realised it took 3 attempts to get some what are they called, Birkenstocks as well. I can't quite get my head around that I'm a size 9, and I think that's because when I had the kids, my feet got bigger, and then as I put weight on, my feet have got bigger again. But you always imagine your feet as being the dainty little things that they were when you were about 19.
Well, I must say, given that I'm 6 inches taller than you or something, how tall are you?
I'm 5'7".
Oh, I'm only 2 inches taller than you.
Yeah.
But my feet are size 8. They've gone up from 7 to 8. But what are you doing at 9? Are you sure they're at 9?
Well, when I buy Birkenstocks, I'm all right with an 8 in Birkenstocks. I had 2 pairs of Birkenstocks that were 9s, and I always felt very clumpy with those on. But I bought 8s this time, and they were fine. But I'm buying sneakers because I realise that it's going to rain. It's going to rain. I need something on my feet.
Yeah, I don't think you won't want Birks for very long in Stupor at this time of year, and you don't want to be wearing Birks with socks because that is a tragic look.
It is. It's very, very German. No offense to the German listeners. Germans on holiday in out of season definitely like their socks with their Birks. But I was looking for trainers. The only pair of trainers I've got are a size, I don't know what they are, but they look like they're a size 10 to 12 man size. So, they're not very glamorous at all. So I've had 3 attempts at buying sneakers. I'm really embracing this whole ordering from Amazon thing. But I did make the mistake of buying some sneakers that came not from Amazon. They came from Italy. So I had to, well, in fact, I didn't. Sarah was going off posting other things. So she took it to the post office. It took me £10 to return a pair of, what were they? 40-odd quid sneakers.
Well, I tell you, here's a tip. And I've learnt the hard way from ordering from Amazon, which I do, which is you need to make sure that you know in the main that it's being fulfilled by Amazon, because I've ordered things and they come from Hong Kong and all sorts of places.
How can you tell, Judith?
Well, there is a way of telling, actually. You click on in a little blue link, it tells you who's going to fulfill the order. Oh. And if it's coming directly from the supplier, which it can, you want to click on their blue link and see, are they in the UK? And you need to see their star rating as well.
Oh, okay. Because what I don't want is to be in a tiny village where all the post comes via Pefco.
Well, I tell you this, the short answer is if it's not fulfilled by Amazon, you don't really want it, to be honest. No, absolutely. Because it's a pain in the bottom.
Yeah, whereas the next day I bought a pair and they weren't right either. And Amazon said, we'll come and pick them up tomorrow, straight from the house.
Exactly. Marvellous. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been buying things. I've also got a very solid, it's like a portable microphone, and it's the kind of thing you could take up the downs if you want to.
I was interested in that because one of my clients bragged this week she bought a big podcasting microphone, and I thought, I wonder if Nicola's taking her heavy one with her.
No, the microphone's different. Yeah, I'm talking about speakers, but I probably said microphone because I've got Alzheimer's. Right. Now, I have got a big, heavy microphone. It's an Audio Technica, and I'm giving it to my son because it comes with a sound box, which he's very keen to get his hands on. Okay. We're swapping it for my Snowball, which I gave him a while ago, but it's very easy to carry around, and it's really good quality. But no, I've bought, on Nelson's recommendation, actually, I bought a little cylindrical speaker thing, which has got really the nicest sound. It's very robust as well. Instead of the 2 speakers that I had, I've been carting around for years. And Sarah managed to get the speakers to a young lady who answered the door in her T-shirt and not much else, but was very grateful to receive them, apparently. Mm.
Well, so, yeah. thinking of sneakers and Birks and things, I've got a PPS on my email from my French landlady this morning that says that she would like to recommend that I bring, there's quite a long list of things here I don't actually own, a torch, warm shoes for walking in the house, whatever that means, and rain boots. I mean, I don't own any rain boots.
Oh, you can get some very nice wellies nowadays.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've got time, which is good news. Anyway.
So, yeah, we're on the countdown to a trial pack. So, where can I get everything in either one suitcase I'm taking with me or one suitcase that's going to the ex-husband's? Just decided to let go of the Christmas tree. That was one of my things that I was struggling to let go of a bit. And I'm really embracing this now, but we're down to the last 2 weeks and we're starting to have to let go of things, where we're going to put on the ads, cannot pick up till 14th of October or we won't have anything to sleep on. Yeah. So that's good. But it's exciting now. I'm excited. I'm upbeat and excited about it all.
About the Christmas tree, I mean, what are you like?
I'm keeping the deckies, but I'm getting rid of the tree.
You're a nutter. That's what you are.
Well, it cost me 120 odd quid, Judith, and the thought.
When?
Oh, about 5 years ago, obviously.
Right, divide 120 by 5, and you've had your money's worth. End of.
I know, and I haven't even put it up the last 3 years.
Well, oh my word! You shouldn't have told me that. And by the way, no joking about having Alzheimer's. Not even joking about that.
I do completely transpose words, though. I might have to start Sudoku at this rate. Yeah, so it's good. I'm feeling good. How are you feeling? Any? I hate to ask, but
I'm not going to tell you till project updates, but I will tell you
Okay.
this. What my notes say to tell you that I'm excited, upbeat, and positive, and it says here, flurry of legal excitement.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to go into it until we get to project updates.
a flurry of legal excitement. Good stuff. All right, now we might need to change our thing for this podcast, because I'm getting lots of strange little noises from your end, and then occasionally a word drops out, like legal just dropped out there. So all I got was a flurry of excitement.
Okay, I don't know what we can do about that, because the natural assumption always is that it's my fault, but actually it could easily be yours.
Well, I know.
What it is, it's the connection between the two of us, and we're on VoIP effectively, as we've always been. Are you saying it's worse on Zoom than it ever was on GoToWebinar?
Yeah. What's fueled your
Let's
fire
talk about what's... Oh, you're going to ask me. What's fueled your fire? You go first.
Well, I've got some very exciting news for you. I got a call from Carl in South Wales, who is an avid listener of the podcast, and he had never heard of us before, found us on iTunes, and he's become a client.
Oh!
A top-level client as well. So that's really, really, we were saying, and I know we're going to discuss it at some point, what's the podcast done for us? Well, it's brought me Carl from South Wales.
Oh, good.
Yeah, very cool. So that's fueled by fire. He's a lovely property investing kind of career kind of person. He's got lots of ideas for making an online business. He's exactly our ideal kind of client. And he was just stumbling around in iTunes one day looking for inspirational podcasts, and he found ours and he became hooked.
Brilliant.
Which is very nice indeed.
Hello, Carl, you lovely sausage. Where did you say, Wales?
Yeah, South Wales.
Lovely, lovely.
So the other thing was, I was interviewed by another lady this week who's got a podcast of her own. She's interviewed me twice for two of them, so I can't say which one it is, but we'll find out and let you know. And she was saying how much she loved the podcast. So we are getting lots of great feedback.
Oh, good. I'm excited. And we made a sale, did we not? Or are you going to talk about that somewhere else?
I'm going to talk about that somewhere else.
Okay, good. Shall I tell you what's fueled my fire then?
Go on then.
Last Friday in London, I had my cash flow game, the one that I think will be the last that I'll ever do in London, with my visiting client Margaret from America. And I said to you in the podcast, I don't fool myself that she's coming from America to see me. But somebody said to her during the course of the day, why have you come to London? She said, to see Judith, which was very exciting. Now, again, I don't think that's the whole story, because she on the Thursday, she went to meet all the other members of Small Business Big Magic. And on Friday, she came and played Cashflow with us and a few more. She's already posted a note in the Facebook group since she's been back home in America. And so she must be quite lagged, because they didn't leave until Sunday. And she was posting a note yesterday, Tuesday, saying the changes that she'd made to her life as a result of playing Cash on Friday. It is the most fantastic game, and we played in this beautiful venue, and it was just lovely. And I learned something, which is the venue was, one of these fashionable rooms now, and one of my clients told me what it was called, but I've actually forgotten, where you've got a big room that's got a kitchen and a living room and a dining room in it. She called it a social something space, and it had bifold doors out into a beautiful lush garden. And the brilliant thing about being at the dining room table in the kitchen was that the clients could just help themselves to tea and coffee all day. Whereas when we've done it at my house in the garden shed, I felt the need to do that, to be a hostess. Consequently, it was a lot less exhausting on me, and I really had a lovely day. And I just love that game and how it changes people. And what I really love, and I noticed this when Margaret posted her comments yesterday, is it doesn't change the four players in anything like the same way individually. They're all changed in their own way from play.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Did you put the link to the app where you found this venue?
I think I did in last week's show notes, vroomy.com. I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, we might have to put it in again this week, because it'd be jolly useful. Is it people opening up their beautiful homes?
Yes. I don't know whether it's international, whether it's just the UK, but this was their home. And when I got there, her husband was just getting on his bike to go to work. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the two daughters came home and made toast in the kitchen where we were. And they smiled at us with their earbuds in, made toast and took it away. Didn't bother us in the least. It was quite informal. Whether that would be suitable for every type of business meeting? I don't know. It certainly didn't bother us. She wanted us to take our shoes off, which we did. And, in all other regards, it was fine. We were lovely because we did the washing up. She said, you don't need to. I said, I expect we will. It's great.
Marvellous. Well, that's really exciting, isn't it? Because it means that, you don't have to do things in your home if you don't want to. Not that we've got homes anymore.
Well, and actually, Nicola, it cost me £76.
Oh, my goodness.
That included the tea and the coffee and the water, and I've just thought of another benefit from it as well. What was it? Oh, yes. It was full of vintagey items, which I've got several clients who are in vintage. There were vintage light fittings and cabinets and old-fashioned glasses and cups and saucers and a floor standing lamp that I haven't seen since 1960 something. It was a funky space, and by no means is it the only one. And it was literally it's about 10 minutes from here, so it was. I wish I'd known about it before. I said, well,
it's certainly filling a need, because we've often seen people in groups asking about nice spaces to host small workshops in London.
Oh well, you and I rented that hotel, which was all right for years, and it was all right for big meetings. But do you remember when we had the smaller meetings? This would have been so much nicer. If you are bored by working for someone else, or tired of trading time for money, or a business owner who's ready to travel and have adventures, then Own It the Summit is for you. We interviewed 18 inspiring entrepreneurs enjoying unique lives. Now you can dip into those lives and decide which of the business models will work for you. Our interviews will show you how to design your dream life beyond the laptop and how to live and work in your favourite ways and places. Our intrepid 18 share the tools and techniques they use to work on the go and what living and working in total freedom really feels like. Find out more at ownitthesummit.com.
So, client challenge of the week then. What are we going to go with this week?
Well, according to your brand new system, which we should tell everybody about, we now have some kind of spreadsheet in Google Docs where it says start with why for this episode, number 99, and I hope you know what you meant to talk about there.
Well,
otherwise...
I have mentioned it in passing briefly in other podcasts, but I've been very taken with Simon Sinek recently and his Start With Why book. And I think he's also brought out another one, which is called Leaders Eat Last, which is all about why people follow certain people and why certain people want to be leaders and certain people don't. Some people are quite happy to be, followers, and they make great number twos and number threes and the people who actually do the work in the country. But the Start With Why thing, I read it a while ago and I really liked it, but I was reading it at the same time as I was reading books like The One Thing and Essentialism by Greg Ewan. And I picked up on him again because he's just been interviewed by Gary Vaynerchuk on YouTube. And if you go and look for that, that's a really good interview with both of them. And I thought, I'm going to read the book again because I was floundering a bit. To think I've got this marvellous opportunity to go to Greece and live, very low overhead for 6 months. I don't want to wander it. I want to actually use it to do something that I might want to do for the rest of my life. But I couldn't seem to drum up any compelling reason why I should do any of the things that I've been doing for the last few years. I am, and I also thought, I wonder, there's some very strange noises coming out of this thing. I was also thinking, why am I doing any of the things I'm doing? And I also thought, why should anyone buy from me rather than anyone else? And I just suddenly realised that all of my websites used to have a big, fat, passionate why on the front, and they don't anymore. So that's why, and as soon as I realised that, I went back and put my big, fat, passionate whys on the front of my websites, and I've started getting inquiries again. Now, I don't know if that's the energy changing around me because I'm moving, I'm excited, I'm blogging, whether it's an energy that I'm exuding, or whether people come to the websites now through various links and see on the front of each of the websites why I do what I do there. And I just wonder, it's made me feel quite different, aligned. It's made me feel passionate. It's made me feel like I could go to Greece and really, write a lot, and perhaps not much of the things that I don't feel so aligned to in terms of a why. And I just wondered, what your thoughts on the whole topic were.
Well, we did talk about this quite a lot last week, and what you've just said there in 3 or 4 minutes, we did we did cover a lot of that last week as well.
Well, we might want to pick another topic then.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Let me just have a think about the answer to your question. I think it would have been more important to me in 1977 when I began being self-employed. My why now isn't really important to me. And if I were thinking aloud, my why now is to earn my living by being a nice, helpful girl, whilst I'm waiting for my investments and my pensions to kick in, to be absolutely brutally honest. And I don't think my clients are interested in my why. I'm interested in theirs if it's helpful for them. I'm delighted to hear what you're saying, which is revisiting that is firing you up again. I think that's a good reason. It's not something I think about much. I just get up and do. I might think about it more if I didn't love what I do, perhaps.
Yeah.
And if I found myself sitting here thinking, why on earth am I doing this? I might revisit it and come up with a different thing to do for a living pro tem, perhaps.
Well, the thing, particularly around the Facebook ads agency, is I absolutely love doing Facebook ads, and I love doing them for me. I love doing them for clients, but I wasn't getting inquiries for the Facebook ads like I did in the first year and a half. And I've talked about this, and I wasn't sure if that was because of what's happened in my end, or whether it was something I'd done in my marketing. And I was sitting there thinking, I really want to carry on doing Facebook ads, but I don't. How do I raise the energy and enthusiasm to go and do the marketing that needs to be done around a topic like Facebook ads? Because when I started the agency, that's all I talked about. I was really, everywhere talking about Facebook ads and what the benefit of using them is to the client. And I really was struggling with that. And I think perhaps if someone's trying to summon up the energy, keep going with a business that perhaps is going through the doldrums a little bit, as mine was, then I think that thinking about your why you did it and started in the first place, why you're doing it, who you want to help, particularly who you want to help. I was really struggling with that, finding my market. And if you can connect to your why you want to help a group of people, then it definitely gives you more energy and enthusiasm to then go out and do the marketing to that group of people. And I think you come across a lot more authentically if you can connect to a why.
I definitely think we want to be, as far as possible, on fire with enthusiasm for whatever it is we do. I mean, and then the answer might be, because I just love it.
Yeah, but you have to, in order to love something, you either have to do it, connect with it on this is what I do if I didn't have to earn a living. This is what I do when hours go past and I don't even notice, when I'm in my flow. People do.
When you said I really love, when you said I really love doing Facebook ads, have you fallen out of love with doing Facebook ads?
Not at all. But you can only do Facebook ads to a degree for yourself if you've got, a budget, and there's only so much you can do within that budget, and you can only do Facebook ads if people pay you to do them. And that I think that quite often it's a strange thing to say here, and I'll need to qualify it, but sometimes making a business out of the thing that we love to do and struggling to do it because of the complications that clients bring with them can kill off the love for the thing. Yes. Well, that brings us on to the next topic, doesn't it? Which is if you start with a why, in terms of, why you want to start a business doing this, it's better if you can start with a who. Starting with the why often leads you to your who, and sometimes starting with...
Well, this sounds, now you're talking, this sounds much more interesting, starting with your who.
Well, let's talk about that then, because I was struggling with both.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking of, what you're putting me in mind of. Obviously this is our episode 99, and I've listened to you talk about Facebook ads for 99 episodes. And
sorry.
It's all right. You haven't talked about it so much of late. I think what's behind quite a lot of what you're saying today is that it doesn't really matter what you do for a living. It would have been difficult in the last 6 months since you've lost Steve, and your why and your who and God knows what can disappear out of the window under circumstances like that and cause you to review your life and everything. But if I think back to my accounting days, I don't think I thought about any of it. In 1977, we didn't think about all this personal development stuff. Just
No.
And what ruined it for me over the next 20 years was the clients. Now, what I mean by that is, the majority of them were lovely, but what happened in that 20 years was the rise and rise and rise of the expectation that you would be constantly available to people. So, even when I have an office, they would be coming around to my house and knocking on the door in evenings trying to deliver stuff, which is, it's completely outrageous. Then you would raise an invoice and wait forever to be paid. It was the clients that put me off in the end. Not that there was anything wrong with them, just the way people became in that 20 years. So they went from pathetically grateful to overly demanding. And maybe all that changed actually was my attitude, which was I was excited and prepared to bend over backwards at the beginning, and then less so as it wore off. And we often used to joke, and it was a joke, but the best jokes always have a grain of truth in them. It would be a great job if it wasn't for the clients. So, now I still love doing my own accounts, but I'm the client and I'm the ideal client, and I don't give my accountant, me, any grief at all.
You pay your bills on time.
Yeah, and I think, it hasn't happened for a very long time in my coaching business, but the only thing that would be annoying in that is if I had a client who was difficult.
Yeah. Well, when I was rereading the book and thinking about my why, it became very clear to me that I can't, you touched on it earlier when you said, why would you start a business doing what you love? Because it might ruin what you love. Isn't it better to start a business perhaps doing something you don't love, but is going to have a demand for it, the hungry crowds out there. And I was thinking when I was reading this book, about my why, and then I thought, well, I've really got to nail down my who, because I've, flip-flopped about on the who quite a lot. And I thought to myself, I cannot possibly get passionate and excited and have a why about a bunch of who's that I don't know very well, don't connect with, don't identify with, don't really care about. So I think I'm awfully feelings driven on business, and I know it's probably one of my big downfalls. But as soon as I started thinking about, okay, so who could I get passionate about the why for? Who is the people that I can actually really feel passionate about wanting to help?
Well, now you're speaking my language. I could get passionate about the who's as well, but not especially about the whys. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the who's as well then.
Yeah. Well, my who is a solopreneur that works at home on their own, and it's hard.
Yeah.
As one of my ladies this morning, one of the 8, is in a country a long, long way away, so quite isolated. Very, very good at what she does. Realizing that she could do more in her business if it wasn't just her. But one of the things she actually said was, there's so much to get done in business if you're just you on your own. And of course, they're not them on their own if they've got me. So all my businesses have been about being a nice, helpful girl, which is what it said on my school report when I was about 8. I'm a nice, helpful girl. And because I've got 40 years of experience of working for myself, quite a lot of it from home by myself, then I'm ideally placed to bring all of that wisdom to help those people. And that, blissfully for me, that's a burgeoning marketplace where more and more people are setting up working from themselves from home.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I started the Money Gym, I was passionate about helping people like me who worked hard and, had tried hard and still wasn't really getting anywhere just because I didn't have the right information. And I was passionate about that, financial intelligence for ordinary people. And then it grew and grew, didn't it? We used to say, ordinary people doing extraordinary things with money. And it was just brilliant. And I felt very clear the who and the why there.
I think I know who your who is now, and I think you know who your who is now as well, don't you? They're these content creators who can easily afford you.
Yes, and that directly came out, that revelation directly came out of my sitting thinking about the why and then the who. And funnily enough, that very week, someone was booked in to talk to me who was my absolute ideal client going forward. But she'd been booked in for 4 weeks, Judith. So it was like she'd sort of, the universe had known that I was going to come to this conclusion and popped her in my diary at just the right week.
Yeah, it quite often comes in advance of why you... of you understanding why. Yeah. That's my experience. The universe often sends me stuff the day before I know I'm going to need it.
Yeah. So I think what we're saying in conclusion to people who are listening to this and feeling a lack of passion around their business, or a lack of oomph or motivation, or get up and go, or can't be bothered to do the marketing because they're just feeling a bit in the doldrums, revisit your why. And if that's not working for you, revisit your who. And see.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave people with the thought that I don't think that they should start a business around something that they're passionate about. I think they should. I just think we just need to be aware, as with everything and everyone we're passionate about, that sometimes it wanes a bit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And that, do you know what, as well, now, if I was running that accountancy business now, 20 years later, those things that peed me off then wouldn't now, because I've learned better boundaries. I've learned how to say no. I'd have them all on the standing order. I'd be much more businesslike about boundaries. I wouldn't let people try and deliver to my home. They wouldn't know where my home was. All the things I've learned in the last 20 years would have enabled me to run that first 20-year business so much better.
I was thinking that as you were talking, actually, and I was thinking she wouldn't stand for that kind of stuff now.
No, I wouldn't. As my brother says, oh, you've changed, which basically means I can't wheedle my way around you anymore. Yeah.
So in highly recommended the book, Steve, and definitely Essentialism is another one. Greg McKeown. That sort of goes. I find that books sort of group themselves together in my head, and start with why, leaders eat last, and the power of one, Essentialism. They're all a good read if you're struggling to identify your marketplace. I think, because that's something you don't see very often online. You see training courses for just about everything, but people, they talk about the importance of identifying who and why, but they don't talk about how to do it.
And do all of these books you've just listed talk about how to do it?
They sort of do, yeah. I think if you read them all, or listened to them all, you would get a very strong sense of how to listen to your intuition and your gut and be guided by that, because that's what it is. It's like when I thought about all those people, the artisan food makers or whatever, I was trying to get passionate about that market because, my mentor was telling me that we needed a marketplace that was, more traditional, grown up, had proper businesses, that they run professionally. And I just found I couldn't get passionate enough about it, because
you can't try to get passionate about anything. That's just a nonsense, isn't it?
I know. But okay, so here's another question, because we've got a bit of time. How if people are struggling to find out who and why and what, and we're saying you can't get passionate about something, what if people have got a business and they really aren't feeling passionate? How would you help them? How would you coach them?
I definitely have to talk to them, because I'd want to find out what had caused it. So, for instance, your circumstances, your bereavement, it has gazillions of knock-on effects. And so if I knew that about a client, I would be exploring to what extent that had had an impact on the business. And I know that you don't like, going into areas like that, but it's massive, frankly.
I do feel resistant to the idea.
I know, yeah. I know you do.
Making that an excuse for it. I don't want to make that an excuse.
It's a reason, not an excuse, okay? And any of us who've been bereaved know exactly what you're going through and exactly what happens when you go through it. And you lose your appetite for everything. Now, going back to the question, it's funny. When I do talk to a lot of people who basically say, I've set up this business because it seemed like a good idea. And so we fiddle around with that and we see, is it, terminally broken, or is there anything we can do about it? Does it have any value? Can we sell it? But really the question we're leading up to all the time is, what do you wish you were doing? What's the business you wish you'd set up? Because, that's where the money is. Really it is, because then you don't have to try to get passionate about anything. And I believe, the advice you got about, you said it just now, and I can't remember exact detail, but it was, grown-up businesses, people who need something, blah, blah, blah. It's sensible advice, but it's not, if you're going to be this passionate, feelings-led person, it's never going to sit comfortably, is it? And yet I do believe that given that the world has a population of, I don't know, I can never remember whether it's
Billions.
8 billion or 18 billion. It's gazillions of people. You know, one woman wanting to make a living from home, virtually from home, can pick almost anything and find enough people to pay her for it, whatever it is she's passionate about.
Yeah, there was a saying right in the beginning of the internet marketing days: if you're catering to a one-eyed geek who lives in his mother's basement and only wears green socks, you'll find that there is another community, a whole community of one-eyed geeks who live in their mother's basement and wear green socks.
Quite. So there's not an idea that any of us can come up with where the market isn't big enough. You know, I've seen clients come up with ideas where I don't get it. I don't get it, but it's rare because, you know, there are so many people in the world, and we discover all the time that people have strange interests that would never have occurred to us.
Yeah.
And as soon as you hear about this idea, you suddenly see and read it everywhere, and the world is full of the one-eyed geeks with green socks.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we don't need... we don't need to worry about our ideas needing to fit in to what is a mentor's idea of what would be commercial. We need to do exactly the opposite. What would I love to do all day long? And where are my green-eyed, one-eyed geeks to pay for it?
Yeah, and if you're thinking on these lines, there's a fantastic book which nobody's mentioned for years, which is called The Long Tail, and it's really worth a read because it really, in lots of very nice pictures, which I like, it displays how by finding these incredible niche marketing is so important, in fact, and how by being incredibly niche, like my client who made Amish dolls, and ended up importing the stuff wholesale from America that she needed and then redistributing, you know, breaking it down and selling them in smaller parcels on eBay. It's just, you get in front of your target market and your tribe, as they used to call them in those days, so much easier if you've got the most obscure niche ever.
And what you then discover in a world with 80 million people in it, whatever it is it's not as nearly as niche as you thought.
Yeah, you're thinking of something specific there. I can tell by the laugh.
No, I'm not really. I'm just thinking it's, you know, you no matter how long any of us live, we will never get our heads around the other weirdos. And there's loads of them. And they all want your thing.
Yeah, they will. And if anyone's wanting to find a tribe, Reddit, we don't talk about Reddit hardly at all on this, but there's a Reddit is like a huge bulletin board where you can post things and read things and reply to things and upvote things and downvote things and things like that. And it really is the most unbelievable, because each of the Reddit boards is run by someone who is passionate about their topic.
Yeah.
And you can either search the Reddit board for keywords, or you can go in through categories and drill down, deeper and down, as the song used to go. Do you remember that song? What was that?
Status Quo.
Status Quo. I knew you'd know it.
I love a bit of Status Quo.
we won't inflict around, down.
Well, hang on. I nearly sang it. Down, deeper and down. Oh, I love Status Quo. I mean, not as a way of life, but when it comes on in the car or at a party, you can possibly sit down while Status Quo is on.
You can tell I'm getting old as well, so I felt a twang of nostalgia for them as well.
You know the most interesting fact about Status Quo? Well, I can tell you several interesting facts about Status Quo. The most interesting fact is that they opened Live Aid.
Okay, I do remember that.
The second one is that Rick Parfitt's children went to the same school as my brother. And I could tell you how many times Rick Parfitt has been bankrupted because he never managed to pay for his self-employed tax.
Oh dear. He didn't have you as an accountant, obviously.
No, he didn't know.
No, you never let any shenanigans like that go past.
Well,
okay.
I don't know. I mean, that is one client challenge of the week. We could do one week is how, as a self-employed person, do you reserve money for tax? Because it's quite hard.
Yeah, well, I think we've touched on it on budgeting, but yes, we could devote a whole episode to it. If our lovely readers give us feedback in the Facebook group, which is free to join, and you can come along and you just do a little search, and if you put in Own It with a space in between, you will find a group and a page. We'd like you to like the page and join the group. And can I also, as we're on the topic, just put in a little plea for more iTunes reviews, please, because we're moving up the top 100. We're in the top 80 now, and I'd really like to get us in the top 40, and it's the reviews that do it. So on the website at ownitthepodcast.com, where you can find Judith's diligence show notes with links to everything we talk about, you will also find a little video that will tell you how to give us an iTunes review. It's only very easy, only takes 2 or 3 minutes, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Now, I hadn't quite understood until you explained it to me the other day, and we might do this in another section, or we might do it in another week, how absolutely vital those reviews are, because we will never get into the top 40 until and unless we have them. Is that right?
Yes, there are several factors. iTunes, it's a bit like Google. They don't release their algorithm publicly, but there are certain things that have been proven to make a difference. When you're starting a new podcast, if you start with 5 to 8 episodes in the can, you get, obviously when you go in, you're more likely to get into New and Noteworthy, which you can stay in for 16 weeks. And if you get into New and Noteworthy, you're shown at the top of the page, especially if you're at the top 10 of New and Noteworthy, then you're going to pick up a lot of listeners very quickly. And we did this with Own It, the podcast. I didn't do it with Business Success Factory, and as a result, the Business Success Factory never got the traction that we've got because we weren't in New and Noteworthy. When it comes to the end of the 16 weeks, you then drop down into what's called what's hot in your category. So we're aiming at business, management and marketing. And I think you get to choose 2 or 3 categories, but you have to choose a primary one, and ours is management and marketing. But obviously, we've got some massive competition there. You know, James Schrampko, Superfast Business, Pat Flynn's got 2 shows, Chris Ducker's got a show that's incredibly popular, Gary Vee has got 2 shows. You know, we're up against the big guns here. But we are doing really well. We've been in the top 100 for about 3 months now, and we were, they stopped showing anything outside the top 100, so they're only showing the top 100 now. We're at number 80, and we do definitely make a little jump every time we get a flurry of reviews. So it is crucial, and it does definitely affect your placing in the iTunes charts. I think it's downloads, reviews, and I'm just talking to someone about possibly doing some revisions on our artwork, Judith, because I've heard that, you know, getting your artwork freshened up make a difference as well.
And can I just clarify something with you about downloads? I never download, I only stream. So presumably my streaming isn't helping us.
Well, if you stream from the website, no, actually it is counting, because Libsyn, we host on Libsyn. If we were hosting on Amazon S3, it wouldn't be being recorded anywhere. But because we're hosting it does record your stream as a download.
Okay, so when you show me that chart of downloads, that includes my stream?
Yes. And I can even break it down when I show you next time into, you know, who's streaming on what. So iTunes versus the website versus... Okay,
lovely. While we're on the topic of podcasting, if anybody's listening and thinking, I wish I had a podcast, but I've no idea how to do it, I now have a client who'll do everything for you. All you need to do is turn up with your notes and your voice and do it. She's not cheap, but don't let that put you off. She's not cheap, of course, because I'm her coach. But if anybody wants a partner, she does all the tech, and it's not just to start you off, but it's forever. So all you ever need to be is the content creator. That might be useful some of your content creators, Nicola. If you come across a client who you know who should be podcasting, let me know, because I've got the podcast partner for them. Oh, well, that's fantastic, because but there are people generally who will set podcasts up for you, but the ongoing thing is... Well, from my client's perspective, we want the ongoing partnership, because she wants the tech work ongoing, but she does more than that. She promotes it and does everything. All you need to do is, like I do here, turn up and talk. All right. Well, fantastic. Very nice. Okay, we need to move on. It's word of the week time. Okay, I'll go first. Mine is expedient, which I looked up yesterday because I put it in my newsletter and I wanted to make sure I was using it properly, and I thought I was, and indeed I was. It means convenient and practical, but I was delighted to discover that it also means, although possibly improper or immoral. Oh, which spiced up the word no end for me, Nicola, I can tell you. Yeah, I can see how that would work. It was expedient, meaning a bit, improper or immoral. Well, possibly, although possibly improper or immoral. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, tell me about your word. Document. Okay. And it means not in terms of a bit of paper. It means it's the whole thing that we're doing with this podcast. We're turning up week after week and talking about what's happening in our lives and our businesses. We're documenting our progress. And the other way is, we're doing it with
and soul. We've got no idea what the outcome's going to be on that. We don't know if it's going to crash and burn, whether we're going to end up stabbing each other on a Greek hillside, or whether we're going to end up with a book deal. We just don't know what the outcome is. And Gary Vee started talking about it quite a lot, about how important it is to document your journey. And in fact, if you want to start something but you don't know how to do it, a great way is, as we've always said, is start a blog and document your journey on finding out the things you need to know. Even if you don't know the who or the what or the why, you could document your journey to find out which books you're reading to do that, which websites you read it and are impressed by. And he makes the point, I can't remember who he uses, someone like Coco Chanel, someone very famous fashion designer, and he says, imagine if that person had been followed around by a friend with a camera from the day they were at art college, and they documented their whole journey. But most people don't document and don't bother to document because they assume they're not going to achieve it. It takes a certain amount of chutzpah even, to start documenting when you don't know what you're going to end up with.
And therefore is quite risky, isn't it?
It also makes you accountable, which a lot of people say they want. So yes, it is risky because you might fail miserably, but you're less likely to fail miserably because you're documenting.
Possibly.
Go on then.
No. I'm just thinking it's risky. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea, actually. But as with so many creative projects, they just fizzle out.
Yes.
It doesn't mean there's no value. It doesn't mean there's no value in what you've documented up until that point. Yeah,
and also then you can document your pivot, and your fizzle. Document the fizzle and the pivot.
Well, I'm quite liking this expression of documenting your fizzle.
Yeah, because I've read some posts by people who've made crashed and burned in the startup world, and a lot of them have been very, very compelling reading because they've got all the feelings of what that person felt like while it was all going horribly wrong. And I think it's very important for people to know that, so they don't feel that everyone is. That's another point that Gary makes, actually, is that nobody sees the journey to success. They just see the success. And if people knew what the journey to success looked like, which they can only do if someone documents it, because you can't talk about feelings in retrospect. I found out this week, we were talking in the garden about something that happened when we were kids, and 2 or 3 of us had all different perceptions about what had actually happened. And I was convinced that my memories were right. So you can't document retrospectively. You can only document authentically in the moment. And his point was, it's really important that people realise that success is not an event that just happens to you at a certain time in your life. You actually have a journey to go on to get there, and documenting it is very valuable for people. I'm banging on a bit, aren't I?
Well, it's okay, Nicola. Feel free.
Feel free. Project updates then. Go on, tell.
Well, flurry of legal excitement. After last Wednesdays, when I said to you, can't believe I'm putting the dustbins out for another Wednesday, there's a very real possibility that today's Wednesday dustbin thing will be the last one ever. Because on Thursday, immediately after we'd recorded last week's, all documents needed to exchange and complete arrived at both firms of solicitors. So as of last Thursday, there was no barrier to doing the deal. And I know my solicitor is gung-ho for doing both exchange and completion this current Friday, which would mean I could go to France on Saturday the 1st of October, which is very accountanty neat and would it would suit me, and it would suit my landladies in France, albeit I would have to move 2 clients from Saturday. But even more exciting than what happened last Thursday was immediately after this, and I know we want to speak, but I'm going to have to get you to excuse me and then come back and talk to you later, because I've got to rush to the post office with the transfer deed, which is the final document, which is very exciting. And then a weird thing happened yesterday where my solicitor received an email from another firm of solicitors acting for the freeholder. The dodgy freeholder, the court case, the digging up the basement, So this whole process has been going on for 5 months, and his office is chasing me for an outcome. And I told her, well, all the documents have been at both firms of solicitors since last Thursday. She came back and said, well, that's odd, because our solicitor says he hasn't heard anything. And I went, well, why would he? Because the two firms I'm talking about are me, the seller, and them, the buyer. And then my solicitor got this email out of the blue from another firm of solicitors ostensibly representing the freeholder, who we'd never heard of. And I went back to this girl and said, is this firm representing you? What about the firm that we've been working with for you for 5? I mean, just unbelievable. I haven't even had a reply from them on that point, which is so some random firm of solicitors ostensibly representing the freehold writes to my solicitor asking all sorts of questions which are none of their business. I said, don't tell them anything, don't tell them your name pike, don't tell them anything they're not entitled to know, which is your charge will be paid off on completion. But anyway, you can hear the exasperation in my voice. I don't think their red herring is relevant to any of this, but there's another red herring in the works this week. But the long and the short of it is, today could be my last ever dustbin day, and Saturday the 1st could be the day I drive to France.
Oh, well, God, we're on the edge of our seats for another week.
Well, I mean, actually, it may be another 2 weeks. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it didn't happen this Friday, but it might happen next week or something. Because
I don't understand why, if they've had the documents since last Thursday, why it's still...
Well, because now they have to draw down the money from the lender.
Okay.
Who knows what they've got to do? A solicitor doesn't only have one client, is the answer to that.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
My buyer, not overly keen to start paying bridging finance at £3,000 a month, might be saying, just give it another week. You don't know.
Yeah. It's a bit like, it's worthy of an episode of The Archers, this is. What are we going to talk about when you're moved on?
Well, we're just going to talk about how lovely it is to live in a different country and how all the new things that we're discovering. Anyway, tell me your project updates. Is it about our sale?
It is about our sale.
Oh, good.
Hilariously enough, I woke up in the middle of the night the other night, and I made the fatal mistake of looking at my phone to see what time it was, because I had to get up very early that morning, and as is the way when you have to get up very early, because it's a long story. I'm trying to acclimatise to earlier hours in my diary, so that when I go to Greece and it's 3 hours later, I'll still be roughly in step with the UK. And so I've made my diary available earlier, and I'd made it, I don't know what possessed me, it was from 7 a.m. onwards. So somebody had actually booked themselves in, and they were in Australia, and it was obviously the earlier the better for them. So I was in that state where you can't sleep properly because you've got to get up early, and even though you set the alarm, you think, oh my God, what if I don't sleep through it? So I woke up in the middle of the night, needed to know what time it was, and saw that we'd made a sale of the Summit recordings. And I got very excited, and I thought, I'll just forward that on to Judith. And of course, I forwarded the wrong receipt. So she got a receipt from someone saying they just paid me $1.
And I emailed back in the middle of the night saying, this is wonderful, but I can't understand why we're selling our recordings for $1.
Completely the wrong receipt. My big fat fingers had obviously just hit the wrong thing in Gmail on my phone without my glasses on. So that was a completely pointless exercise. But what it did do was prompt us to think, okay, because we've got one sale of in hand that we were going to use for Facebook ads, and I started to set it up last week, and then I struggled a little bit because my inclination was to send them to iTunes, because that's where we want more downloads, because it will get us in the higher up the charts. Then I thought, no, I've got absolutely no way of telling if that's working or not, apart from the fact that Facebook will report to me how many clicks we've had. When they get to iTunes, I've got no way of knowing which ad's working to get the subscribe or the download or anything. So that sort of put a bit of a halt on my Facebook ads thing. And then I started talking to Sarah about it after we'd had this conversation, and said, why don't we invest this sale in some publicity as well? So then I thought, okay, well, the way forward is, in order to benefit both of us, we'll do an opt-in, followed by jumping people to the sales page for the recordings. And then I thought, well, what can we do? And we'd previously discussed giving away an episode, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And we hadn't really settled on which episode would be a good representation. So I just thought, oh, well, let's just give away the first 3. There is 18 of them after all. It's not like we're giving away. Yes,
good point. And
I thought, that's nice and random, so I don't have to make any decisions. So it would be the first 3 in the zipped up folder. And it'll be a nice surprise for them. So I set all that up yesterday, and actually I haven't even had time to look this morning about how it's going. Should I do that while we're live?
Yes.
Yeah.
You covered something in your preamble there, which was something I wanted to ask you about off air, but I can ask you about it now while you're looking up, actually. When I booked Yarrow in, this is going to be fascinating for you and me, and I need the answer for a client from this morning's call. When I booked Yarrow in to be our speaker, Yarrow, who is Australian but currently living in Canada, you gave me a link to how to book myself into his diary. And if we can find it between us again, I need it, because he had the best online appointment booker thing I've ever seen. Let me tell you why. It handled the fact that everybody lives in a different country, so you didn't have to work out what time it was in another time zone. It did that. So he put in his times that worked for him in Toronto, and I booked in times that were my time zone.
Okay.
And you and I are going to need that.
Yeah, we are. You're right.
Because we don't want either our clients or us trying to work out, what does that mean in terms of time zones? Now, Yarrow's got the diary and you've got the link to it, and I don't know if you can find it.
I probably can.
You.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, if you can, that would be useful.
I've got Gmail, so I know. Oh, it might. Anyway,
we put it on Trello, and then we might have archived it, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's on Trello, I've still got it then.
Well, even if it's archived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still got access. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So since yesterday, I'm splitting them out into mobile and desktop because I don't know whether our listeners are on which one. Since yesterday, we've had. Well, it was only yesterday afternoon, to be fair, that I got it all set up, because you have to. It's quite a long process in Infusionsoft. We've had 9 clicks to our landing page, and we don't appear to have had any opt-ins yet, but you wouldn't expect that out of 9 clicks. The average click is 52p on mobile, and we've had no clicks on desktop at all. So out of 262 impressions, we've had no clicks, and we've spent more on desktop. So I'm going to turn that off, I think, for now. Okay. So we want to maximise our budget. And yeah, so basically I'm just targeting the keywords digital nomads of any kind, anything with the word nomad in, world nomads, digital nomads, blah, 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 blah. But I might now go and target some other interest groups, people who like certain people, like Jo Barnes, for example, because she's
and like Yarrow, who runs a thing called Laptop Lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. So people
did you see that Mark Anastasia is running a conference called Beyond the Laptop Lifestyle?
Really? That's jolly annoying, isn't it?
And the jolly annoying thing about him is he sends it in the bloody post. It came in snail mail yesterday. I've spent years trying to get off that man's snail mail list. They lie.
Well, it's funny because a few of them are starting to send things through again. I still get stuff from Andrew Reynolds. He does it. Well, I'm amazed Mark Anastasi's back from wherever he's been. He's been very low key for a long time, hasn't
he? It looked like him anyway. Well, it was certainly his list, put it like that, because he's the only one that snail mails me. And I've torn it up and put it in the dustbin, so I can't be precise on this, but I'm fairly sure it was Beyond the Laptop Lifestyle. But anyway, there you go. And the point is, Laptop Lifestyle and Beyond the Laptop Lifestyle are expressions in their own right. Yes,
and someone I know secured the domain name, so he must have been a bit cross about that.
That was me.
So that was one of my projects, and the other one was that my tripwires are starting to work for both of my things. So the Science of Getting Rich Online video on YouTube is feeding me free leads, which are now buying my tripwire offer, and also the How to Market Any Business Online book that I'm giving away through Facebook ads is starting to sell the tripwire, which is the Fast Start Masterclass. But so everything started. Everything feels like, God Almighty, it's been a few months, but everything's starting to feel like it's flowing in the way it should now.
Very good.
Who or what's impressed?
You go first, because mine's really, really, really exciting.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, I was just going to say anyone who cranks out content consistently, because as someone who's trying to do that myself now, I know how difficult it is. Dan Norris's book 4 is coming. It's called Create or Hate, and it's an interesting title, but he's trying to he's using the word hate for not people who hate on you and your efforts, but the voice you hear in your head that tells you you're no good, and how that's the biggest block to creating, is getting over the fact that there's this voice that tells you horrid things. And the other person who's cranking out content, as you may have noticed, is my daughter Phoebe. She did 3 videos yesterday, And she's made her first, did I tell you last week she made her first tenner online?
A fiver, you told us last
Yeah,
week.
no,
Yes.
she's made more than that now, and she's actually taking on the mantle of being the spammer in the family, because she's being threatened with expulsion from our family Facebook group because she's hassling everyone to go and share, like, and comment. So I used to have.
She is her mother's daughter. Yes, she is her mother's daughter.
Absolutely, relentless. She is. Good fun. What? Go on, then. You tell us yours.
Well, you know our friend Daphne, the writer, 100 Days of Solitude.
Yes.
You know, the book that encouraged you to... Yes, well, much fun between her and me on Facebook this week.
No.
Yeah, on Monday morning, I've written my newsletter about this for tomorrow or the next day. On Monday morning, I was trying to explain to a client in the written word how to do Facebook well. And I didn't do a good job of it. But whilst I was trying to do that, Daphne, our writer, Daphne Capsali, who wrote 100 Days of Solitude, which we both loved and we talked about here before, and certainly at least one of our listeners is reading it as well. Daphne was demonstrating on Facebook what I was trying to teach this client how to do. And I said, don't just broadcast, it's cold, it's impersonal, it's like standing on a street corner, you've got to engage, you've got to engage live. Anyway, Daphne put out a little message saying that she'd got 49 reviews on Amazon and 50 was the magic number. So I thought, well, I'll be the 50th. And I went on and I gave her a review on Amazon talking about you and me both. And I popped back to where she put it and I said, I think I was number 50. And she replied to me personally, tagging me in blue, saying, yay, I just saw it. Thank you so much, Judith, and good luck on your Caribbean adventure. I'd love to hear how you're getting on. When are you going? So she read my review and she's engaging with me live on Facebook about me. And I reply, as soon as the sale of my London flat completes, hopefully this week, or I'm going first to Normandy, exciting times spurred on by you. And one of my colleagues is going to Stupa in Greece, very much encouraged by your book for sure. To which she replies, this is fantastic. I love it. Exciting times indeed. I hope the sale goes through smoothly and I mean it. Keep in touch. I'd love to hear how it all goes and feed my Caribbean fantasies, and good luck to your colleague as well. To which I go, thank you. We're both writers, brackets bloggers mainly, and we'll definitely keep in touch. Now, isn't that just awesome way to build your tribe using Facebook live by engagement?
Absolutely.
She's got a raving fan for life. I mean, we were already fans. She's got a raving fan now because I have a relationship. And Liz, who listens to this, also said something nice about Daphne on Facebook, and Daphne picked it up and replied to it. Please, people, take a lesson from this. Don't just send out stuff on Facebook. Engage with people, talk to them, make it about them. I mean, listen to my passion now. Our author, and Liz felt this as well, our author that we love, that's encouraged you in your adventure, you know, I did something for her and she is now engaging with me about me. She's not just going me about herself. She's engaging with me about me. And and she's clearly a natural at it. But, you know, that's how it should be.
Yeah, and she's not just inspired me to go to Greece, she's inspired me to start writing properly.
Quite. Yeah. But actually what she says here, keep in touch, I want to hear how it goes, and I mean it. Yeah,
that's nice, really nice. Well, that's so exciting, Judith.
I know.
And also,
it is exciting.
Yeah, it is. And you weren't actually reaching out to her. You were actually just mentioning her. There is something called. Oh, I was only looking at it this morning. There is an app called. I think it's called Vaynerchuk, and it actually just scours social media for people talking about you. It scours the whole lexicon. It doesn't go into groups, unfortunately, but it does scour pages as well as profiles on Facebook and Twitter and G+. And so it's a really good idea if you are someone who people might be mentioning to do that. Then you could go. Gary Vee spends hours in the car and on the plane replying to people's comments on his YouTube channel, replying to people's comments on his page. He often just picks up the phone and reaches out to people, calls them if he can find their number. You know, it's incredibly. He calls it building a tribe, one person.
Well, I mean, actually, so many of my clients want my advice about how to build a tribe, how to get a network, how to have a list, how to, This is the way, by engaging with them one at a time. And even what Chris Barry used to say, 1,000 true raving fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brilliant. Awesome. What a great end to the show. Thank you.
Not at all, babe. See you soon.
I'm off to read your review now. See you
Okay.
later.
Yeah. Bye.
Take it on my way. It's a brand new
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.